Erased Destiny. Chapter 4. Camping in the Swamps. Well after midnight, Topaz reached the encampment. His heavy breathing drew Jargon's attention more than his unnaturally slow pace of movement. Boy sat down and looked around. Fire was still burning. Merigold slept, wrapped in her blanket. Topaz slumped down on the grass beside the luggage.
What has happened to you? Did someone attack you?
Triheads. It's nothing serious, just few scratches. They took care of fowl that I had hunted. Lazy beasts. They chased me away and ate my prey. I got careless for a moment, and this is the result.
The hunter sighed. In his bag, he found only bandages. He hadn't expected to encounter any formidable opponent. Triads outsmarted him, and that led to question if camping there was safe. Jargon passed him Cyril's luggage. Topaz laughed quietly, seeing the empty space left by the bottle of alcohol. The sounds of conversation and searching for medicines woke Merigold, who was more interested in how to help the wounded Topaz than getting to know Triheads better. She took a senescent leaf from her harvest and placed it on the man's forehead.
Healing touch. It will bring down the fever and prevent infection. Unfortunately, I don't know other curative spells. Do you have any alcohol?
Unfortunately not.
In that case, we'll use lamb's tongue leaves. I saw them not far from here. In the meantime, get undressed.
Merigold ran towards the trees. The leaves had to be chewed before use, and then placed under the bandages. That much she remembered from the herbal book. Jargon helped Topaz get rid of his clothes and wash the scratches with magic water.
Triheads are predators. They mate very early and remain faithful to each other throughout their lives. They never separate. They even sleep on top of each other. Hence their name. When parents and young lie on top of each other, they look like one three-headed monster.
Are they big? I heard that they can knock an adult over.
To an adult they reach mid-thigh, so they are smaller than wolves or other forest predators. They have fawn fur and paws with membranes. They swim better than humans, run faster than us, and have longer claws. Enough reasons to stay away from them. They surprised me, and the hunter became the prey.
Merigold returned to the camp and bandaged Topaz the best she could. She was not happy with the result. The bandages were shifting and the greens were oozing out. She didn't quite believe in the healing properties of a lamb's tongue, especially one so young.
Won't they come after you?
They've eaten the fowl, so I don't think so. But the smell of blood might attract other predators. It will be better if we go back to the tract.
Lie down, please, and don't talk as the wrappings fall off. No one will attack us. We have horses to warn us. Besides, Pylas said animals don't like my aura. I've never found a spider in my bed, and Rose does every third day. Even fish I rarely manage to catch. You saw how horses react when they see me.
I think we should find a safer place. Is any inn nearby? Or at least Hunter's Tower?
Tired of the pointless discussion of the relative safety of sleeping in the forest, the consideration of building a palisade, and the quibbling about Jargon's almost good hut, Merigold cast a sleep spell at Topaz. She sat down on the grass and tried to organize her thoughts. All the spells she had cast belonged to the elementless magic. Any adept could use them. All it took was a bit of power.
Do you know any spells? Are you magical? You have never said.
A little. Pylas said that I have some power, but very little, unfortunately. It is very late. Go to sleep.
Stop treating me like I'm younger than you. What am I annoying you with?
Merigold didn't want to admit that Jargon had always irritated her. Since she had taken the job at Amanda's, she had less free time and was not looking for ways to kill the boredom. Jargon's moaning disturbed her. She couldn't focus on Topaz's treatment or protecting their campsite.
I said, sleep.
Jargon remained in the semi-sitting position in which he had been talking to his friend. He hadn't lost touch with reality, but he couldn't move. He couldn't open his eyes, so he listened. and he tried to break the spell, but Merigold surpassed him with willpower.
You won't understand. I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening to me. I dream about people and objects I've never seen. I do things in these dreams that defy not only reason but also the laws of magic. I have never learned spells. So why am I able to do magic? How'd I know how to fold my hands?
She sat down and looked at the glowing logs. Fatigue was getting to her, but the fear of the tree heads kept her awake. She didn't know if her aura would be enough to ward off the predators. She felt vulnerable and left alone.
But that's not all. Sometimes I lose consciousness. Just like that. Maybe I'm sick? I talked to Pilas about him and some breeze I don't know. About some tournament I've never seen. How did I know he had lost to her? The sentences appeared in my mouth on their own. Did you know that wraiths have teeth? I didn't, until I saw the phantoms and the knowledge of them popped into my head. That's a misnomer. It came back into my head to the place it used to occupy. As if I was someone else.
Merigold stood up and looked around. The night did not fill her with fear, but it made her aware of the danger. Tope's blood not only stained the encampment, but also the road leading to it. The girl took a flat bowl out of Jargon's bag, which could also be used as a plate, and went to the water with it. She rinsed off the red spots, as long as her eyes could spot any in the sea of green. Jargon was becoming increasingly angry. Not only Merigold treated him like a crutch, even though he had proved his usefulness, she was cleaning up their encampment herself. She wouldn't let him help. She wouldn't let him talk to her. She wouldn't let him assure her that whatever the situation or supposed illness, he would not abandon her. He would fund her treatment, and even a trip to the Crystal Palace, where the best healers reside, with a burning quail in one hand and a bowl of water in the other. Merigold set off following Tope's footsteps to the place where he had been attacked. Along the way, she scorched the grass to be sure to mask the scent left by the hunter. Much quicker than she expected, she reached the wings, blood and not quite bitten bones left by the predators. She quietly retreated towards the camp, but Treyheads sniffed her out faster than she could see them. They crouched in the scrub, ready to attack. They had already satisfied their hunger, but Merigold had entered the territory they were about to defend. One rustle, a short swish, and the momentum of the impact knocked the 12-year-old over onto her back.
Teleportation.
Terrified, Merigold appeared on a tree branch. From above, she watched the disoriented Triheads walk around the spot where she had been lying a second ago. Blood was running down her face and neck, but fortunately the claws had not damaged an artery. Merigold clung to the branch, hoping that Triheads could not climb. She struggled to catch her breath. The beasts were unable to reach their prey. They slid down the smooth trunk, ripping the bark with their claws. The membrane-bound toes of their paws were better at swimming than climbing. Nevertheless, the animals did not give up. They circled around the tree, hissed occasionally, and waited for an opportunity to attack. Stress stimulated Merigold's mind, tried to recall magical incantations, with meager results.
Fireball.
The spell did not materialize. Still, Merigold was not about to end up as someone's breakfast. She calmed her breathing, clasped her trembling hands on the branch, and searched. She searched inside herself for an escape route, a spell, a memory. Teleportation over such a short distance had almost drained her of magical power. She did not delude herself that she would reach the camp this way. As Merigold felt the familiar chill inside her body, she relaxed her muscles. She was drowning in darkness, a cold and sticky darkness that she had not experienced since her death. When she opened her eyes, she saw everything in black and white. Everything but the two red Triheads jumping onto the trunk and sliding down onto the grass. With scythe in her hand, the girl flew down from the branch and hovered just above the surface of the ground. With a flick of her wrist, she slashed the closer standing animal. Without losing momentum, She spun in place and drove the tip of her scythe into the other. With a jerk of the spectral hand, she ripped the back of the tri-head. Merigold circled over the corpses and looked around for more threats. She saw nothing but rodents, underground, and birds in nests. As she waited to return to human form, she absorbed the memories of her previous life filling her. The life of the Lady of the Crystal Palace. Jargon managed to lift one eyelid. When he felt the powerlessness pass, he rolled over onto his back and gazed at the stars shining brightly in the sky. He thought that if it weren't for the darkness of the night, he would never have noticed them, yet there were few things he liked as much. Slowly he regained feeling in his hands, control of his body. Since Merigold had gone into the forest alone, he wasn't going to impose on her. He cooled Tope's inflamed forehead with a snowball. He was worried about Merigold. Less than about himself or the unconscious hunter, but he was worried. He wanted the girl back to them as soon as possible. He noticed the footprints she'd scorched. Footprints that he could easily follow to find her. This, however, meant leaving the sleeping hunter alone. Jargon pressed his lips together. He couldn't choose, couldn't make any decision, so he simply waited for Merigold to return. Meanwhile, Merigold knelt on the grass and tried to remember as much as possible of what she had just seen. Faces, events, conversations, feelings, foreign worlds, the countless places she had visited. Spells, memories of battles and assassinations.
Nathan, what happened to you? Why were we separated? Did you incarnate like me? Or disappeared in void? We have risked too much, now I see it. But what other choice did we have? To give up our lives, our future together? No, that I would never do.
Etien couldn't maintain control over her, not her body. After a few minutes, she fell asleep and Merigold's personality took their body over. All that remained was the certainty that Merigold had once been someone else. Someone very powerful, and she had lost everything. One name, Nathan. Whoever this Nathan was, she felt she longed to find him. The transformation into death had left Merigold empty and weak. The girl rose to her feet and approached the spillway. Washing her face in the cold water sobered her somewhat. Starlight trembled on the leaves of the magic herb, which Merigold put into her mouth. She chewed on the young, juicy leaves and felt her strength returning. She recalled on her mistakes and immediately casted Shadow Wanderer, which covered her in dark cloak of magic. No one except seekers and some mages could see Merigold hidden in shadows. Then she summoned Poison Ivy, her favorite plant. Before the venomous snake could bite Merigold's leg, the ivy grabbed it and threw it into the water. Afterwards, the ivy pulled sleeping birds with long legs and even longer beaks out of their nests. Merigold used Summon Dagger to cut off any parts of the prey that didn't fit into a sack. Death spells. Her domain. Something at which, once, no one could match her. Every spell went into its place, as if it had never disappeared from there. Every incantation, every gesture or detail to affect the nature of a spell Merigold could recreate with chronicle-like accuracy. This was enough to make her feel confident. The infinite possibilities offered by the domain of darkness. With Poison Ivy, she bound the carcasses of the tri-heads and dragged them behind her. She threw the bag with the hunted fowl on her back, and step by step she moved towards the camp. Something has changed inside of her. Someone who had been in a coma woke up. Jargon walked impatiently around the campfire. He looked out for his friend, but could not see further than a dozen paces. Everything merged into a black-gray mass in which he could not distinguish between a tree and a rock. Whenever the wind blew, Jargon sat down beside Topaz and in his hands clutched a stick shaped like the sword he had been practicing with. He hoped the makeshift weapon would be enough should someone attack them. No, he hoped that no one would attack them, and he would not have to test the effectiveness of the prepared weapon. It seemed to him that the branches above him were trying to grab him, so he laid down on the grass. He covered his head with a blanket. His heart was beating so fast that it made it difficult to judge the passage of time. Only a strange rustling sound prompted Jargon to leave his hiding place.
Oh, Mother. Why did you go alone? You need to be bandaged.
Dark medical practice. Already bandaged. Thanks for reminding me that I've bleeded. Somehow, it slipped my mind.
Jargon stopped in half a step. How can one forget that one is injured? How can one not feel the pain caused by wounds? The joy of Merigold's return was quickly replaced by the anxiety caused by his friend's words, her visibly ill state, and her black, strangely glassy eyes.
Do you know any Nathan?
Nathan? No. I have never heard such a name. Is everything all right?
Excellent. I am a bit tired, so I'll lie down and you stand guard.
On guard? So what do you want me to do? Should I keep an eye on the fire?
Before Merigold could answer, she fell to the grass, and the sack full of dead birds rolled towards the spillway. Jargon caught it. Only now did he notice the dead tri-heads lying behind Merigold. The ivy had disappeared, so it looked as if the corpses were dragging themselves behind the victorious girl.
Who are you? Give Goldie back. Please.